Okay, we'll call to order the property subcommittee meeting on May 20th, 2015. We're all present.
Yes.
Yes. Purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the property on 154 Everett Street and removing the affordable housing restriction. Last time we met, we discussed some of the previous communication that was provided back and forth regarding the property and Habitat for Humanity, specifically from the East Hampton Housing Partnership. And at that time, we decided that we needed some more information regarding the specifics on the memo of understanding that the city had between Habitat for Humanity. So we have had that letter provided by the mayor, and it pretty much outlined the process, the steps, the timelines for 2012, and the expectations of what was going to be completed. Discussion.
I guess my only question is, did we get any information about the CPA monies that were spent? And if we remove the affordable restriction, how does that impact the CPA funds that were put forward for that?
So it was $32,750 spent in CPA funds, and so we would have to, give back.
We'd have to repay that.
You said 32,715?
Yep.
I'm just looking at a previous letter, and it looked like there was two payments, 22,000 and then 10,715, which, yeah, that's 32,715.
Would there be any clarification as to, let's say the property sold for more, obviously you pay it back, okay, here it is. Let's say the property sold for less. And
Well,
we've sold
we've been going back and forth with DR Legal about that right now.
with DOR legal, usually? Yeah.
Right now, basically they said if you treated it as a purchase of the CPA, like that money is equated to a purchase, then it would, if they were unable to develop it, then they would be able to release it. And they would be able to sell it, with all, the intent was obviously to develop it as affordable housing. That hasn't worked out, and so then whatever proceeds from the sale could go to them. We have kind of come up with that's not the only money in
I'm
the
sorry, whatever proceeds from the sale would go to whom?
CPA.
To the CPA, okay,
Right.
right.
So that would mean that the gain or the loss would go to them. But since there are other funds in the
Alright, so the time is 5:33, we're opening our appointment subcommittee.
in the project, let's say, then that, I'm looking, we were looking for them to clarify that, but we held off, 6 lawyers in until, you guys decide what you were gonna do. Because, at some point, we're gonna have to disperse it. We can't develop it as affordable is the problem. We just can't. We've tried. We gave it away.
Alright, they're being.
So what's the current market rate value of the? Do we know that?
I don't know. JP's a realtor. I'm guessing a developable lot in East
that area.
Hampton or far and few between it, that it would be in the $50,000 to $100,000 range is a guess, but I'm not an appraiser or a realtor. So, however, there are other issues with the property in the sense that there is a building on it that has to be removed. And, I don't, it's not, it wouldn't, no matter how you don't typically dispose of municipal property in a traditional way where, we're looking for cash buyers, which changes the game, because even if you get financing and you come to an auction, it has to be readily available. It's not like, oh, I'm going to put a bid in on the house and it didn't work out. Auctions don't work that way, and even if we did it through a RFP process without affordable housing restriction, it sort of implies a certain amount of capital, from the type of person who purchases property from the city. It doesn't. Not that you can't go get a loan, get pre-approved, and close.
Why couldn't there be an RFP that has, one of the requirements is to be pre-approved from a recognized lender, okay?
Well, right. But
But you still have to wait 3 or 4 weeks for bank commitment.
Right, and
for
that's,
approval.
I mean, it's gonna take that long to close anyway, but it's a developable property, it's not a house,
Right.
you know? It's a different type of purchase, is all I'm
Right,
saying.
it's not like you have a freestanding, single-family house
Right,
that's
yeah.
ready to go,
Right.
all set.
Right. And so you mentioned that there was some
I mean,
other.
certainly anyone could, you know, first-time hire, I'm just saying it's more difficult than your typical first-time purchase of, just like, you know, buying land is more difficult, but getting a construction loan is more involved. I wouldn't say more difficult, more involved, and you have to have a certain amount of, because that's what essentially what it would take, no matter what kind of property it's developed as. You know, it's just not a condo, it's not a first-time home buyer home, it's not a rehab.
So CPA is 32,000, and you mentioned that there was other parties that had money. Can you
Well,
elaborate on that?
GP will probably, well, you will too, Salem.
Oh, yeah, I just don't remember.
So this property was originally taken as tax title. The principal taxes that were unpaid on this property exceed $51,000. The interest and land court costs and to get the judgment were $33,000. That we spent over the years it took to close that. And then there were some DEP reporting fees, the tune of like $6,500. So that's like $90,000 of, you know, it's long gone money. But
Right.
you know, this, when we had originally released the building to be RFP'd, I recall that there was an amount that we wanted to be able to reclaim because we were
Right.
invested in this. And so
Yeah.
there's both federal and state grant money for brownfields cleanup in this property, 55,200 of federal and 96,500 of state. So we're into this property, if you include all of that. I don't know if you include taxes because it's not like we spent it, we
Right.
did collect
We
it, you
collect
know,
it, yeah.
okay? That's $275,000.
We're never going to get that for a
No.
lot. But I mean, the question is, was was that brownfield mitigation done?
Absolutely.
Or it was done. Okay, so that money was spent, and the property's clean now.
It's clean with the exception of the fact that it has a
It
building
still has a
on it.
building on it.
Yeah.
So that makes it a much more marketable property, and those were, I mean, so that's good.
But the only thing that we potentially have to pay back is the CPA, the
Right.
32,000. So I mean, that could be like on an RFP, the minimum, the bare minimum bid.
So, entertain a motion?
It could, yeah.
Right. Well, we'd ideally like to try to, go.
Sure,
We'd
to
get
reclaim some of the previous spent money, but
JP
again,
go over there.
we also went around this process once before and weren't able to sell it, is my
But a
understanding.
market rate would be different than affordable units.
It
Because,
would, but
well, the
I mean,
profit margin's
I'm
different.
gonna refer you back to the last property we sold.
Right.
By the government, by state and mass general laws. A lot of them. Okay,
Yeah, we still, but that, I mean,
But
true.
To refocus though, the question really is whether,
I just can't guarantee
Yeah,
that. I
there's no
just don't know how, I mean, we can do it and say we will take them no minimum bid other than X, and then that may or may not work.
Right.
And then we'll go again. And what's not in this cost analysis is that I believe it went out to RFP twice, if not 3 times, and there's costs to that.
And every one of them was with affordable housing restrictions.
Absolutely.
Every single one.
Right, because that was the intent. And
Obviously, I can't understand why we can't almost give away a piece of property that we've cleaned up for good affordable housing. The
Well,
concept
what
just, I fail to understand what forces are out there that's preventing this from
what
happening.
I
And when
understand,
Habitat for Humanity doesn't want it,
it's not that they don't want it, they can't
well, they'll
do
put it on. They'll put
Put it on their schedule.
They said they'll put it on their schedule and deal with it in 2 or 3 or 4 years.
I think
5
it was that.
2022 or something?
22. I mean, come on, you don't want it.
So that was hard for me to accept. And
I'm sorry.
so the other thing is, and I'll tell you that as I recall, when they were the winning bidder at that time, they were the only bidder at that time. And so what my understanding is that the cost of doing affordable housing in that site is limited by its size because it's relatively small and they can't make the money back. Because they can only do I believe it's 3 units. But it's not, there's not enough volume to recoup the cost of the development
I wonder.
at an affordable housing.
So this, I mean, this is just a thought, and it's a little irrespective of the affordable housing, which is what we're talking about.
As I say, getting focused on.
But
some of the-
I mean, we can. I mean,
whether or not
it
we
is.
remove it.
You know, it's corollary. You know, if we do remove the affordable housing, it would, to me, it would make sense to. There's organizations out there that build houses for disabled veterans, and you know, imagine that they might be looking for spaces where they can build a house. And I don't know, I can't remember the name, like houses for vets or something like that. But you know, maybe a call to them and see, because they might be actively looking, and they might just not know. They might not have seen. It might, the affordable housing might not have been on their radar, and they might be have the ability to pay the.
And I think the
30,000.
situation has changed over time with the veterans program.
Right.
I mean, over the last several years, I think there's been more interest and maybe even some monies
Yeah.
to do this kind of.
Absolutely. Anyway, that's
I
just
don't know.
just the thought, since you might be putting that RFP.
I like the thought very much.
Okay, so
I don't know.
It's a wonderful thought. Unfortunately, location. I mean, if you're talking about disabled vets, it's
yeah,
not
I mean, it's a
exactly
little out
what
of
it's
town.
Downtown,
But there is
reasonably accessible.
transportation. The Nashawanic Express maybe goes over there.
I think it does.
I think it's worth them saying,
Oh yeah. Anyway,
we're not interested.
so that might be something that you know that we could pursue. Just a thought. It's on the record. I'm fine with removing the affordability restriction. You know, as long as we can get that money back to the CPA. That's my thought.
The as long as we can is the big thing. But the question really simply is, are we willing to remove the affordable housing restriction on 154 Everett Street? I'm certainly in favor of it. Again, the property's sat idle for some time. There's been a lot of investment into it, and it's not going anywhere. So I'd like to see it back on the market, if you will, and potentially bringing in some tax revenue after a few years.
I certainly am in agreement with putting it out there and getting it back on the rolls and making the property useful as opposed to standing idle. I will make a call to the Veterans Organization though, in the interim,
So
before the final council vote. And maybe if somebody comes up and they like it, come up with a plan, we can,
make that happen.
yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to remove the affordable housing restriction from 154 Everett.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Now,
I-
some
before
affordable
we-
housing people come forward.
Hey, yeah, it doesn't preclude it from being. Right.
Did we have a proviso about returning the funds to?
I think hopefully that'll be in the
It's
record,
to the
and
CPA.
I mean it kind of has to.
Right.
Well,
Like, or at least whatever money's made, that has to go to the CPA. I would hate to deplete
And
the
hopefully
CPA.
it's worth more than this amount of money. I
it
certainly
should.
would think that the ability to build, it's a 3 or a 4 unit, I'm not quite
Yeah, they
certain.
said 4 unit, I think, when they were looking at the
We
affordable
were looking at
housing.
before, was for 4,
I think though that might
might have been part of the
I might have
affordable.
been, I might have been part of
Part of the
but I
affordable
believe it's
density
bonus.
definitely big enough for a two-family, you know,
Yeah.
traditional zone.
0.7
Yeah.
acres.
Okay.
All right,
But
great.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.